I'm telling you what, you guys, we absolutely worked till we were stumbling tired. Show you, this is kind of the lead into the wedding space. And in the wedding space, we wanted to create a couple options for ceremonies. Now it's kind of harder to enjoy the beauty of what we've created because all the leaves are on the ground right now. But this is a beautiful, beautiful lawn. And by creating this, we now have a space here where a ceremony, you know, the bride and groom can be at the end. There's a waterfall there and there's a waterfall there. And this is a beautiful little space for a small wedding ceremony of about 70 or 80, which a lot of weddings are that way. And it's extra room in case they want to set up, like we had a couple of the weddings set up like tables and different things here where people could be flowing throughout the area and be able to utilize this space. Although that didn't get used a ton, but it's beautiful and it adds to the whole thing. Now, if we swap around here, you'll see kind of the heart of our reception area. If you guys remember, this is what we used to call date night. And date night, when we bought the ranch, was where the original ranch owner had a little camper. It was like a 1970 camper, and it was cute as hell, but it was falling apart at the seams. It was a 70s fifth wheel. Everything just wasn't working. So we pulled it out, and serendipitously, we were gonna put a new one in, but it was an old camper, and so the space was so small, we were gonna have to dig out the floor, raise the ceiling, you know, bring out the walls. We basically would have had to rebuild the whole structure. So we just went, okay, what else could this be? And so we decided, if you come up, we decided to turn this into a covered kind of longhouse style ideal, which was, you know, the Amazon longhouses are where the community gathers. This is where people come and gather, and we wanted another gathering spot here. We have the Ripple Center, which is a pretty inside space, but the summer space out here is gorgeous. And so we wanted to do it. So we built a deck on the side where the RV used to be. And in our weddings, this has become the dance floor and the place to put the food and the pitchers and the bar and the DJ. And then the reception happens out here. Now, I'm telling you what, you guys, we absolutely worked till we were stumbling tired for 3 weeks, I think. Yeah, it was about 3 weeks. And this was a small little brush grove, and none of this was open like it was. And so we went in and we cut down a few trees, but we didn't have to cut down a lot. This was already kind of open, but it wasn't level. It was just a hill that came down. And we actually have a wintertime seep that comes down through this place that where we have the bridges, and we've created, you know, this what looks like a creek. Because we needed drainage, and then that added some texture and beauty to the whole thing. So we can actually sit 140 people at tables and chairs in this space, including kind of a, you know, bride and groom, you know, catbird seat. That's where they can be and be in kind of their honored little space. And then 140 people can sit here. The one negative side of the way that we did it is we did it in stages. We couldn't do it all at once to get ready, so there's still work to be done. So I'll kind of give you an idea of what we're doing in the future. In the future, we're going to extend this terrace around this way and then into here. So now we'll have terraces over here, and the whole reception space will be centralized around this. And we have this really beautiful space that can easily handle 200 people. Now, when you hear the words 200 people at a wedding drinking, you got a lot of pee, let me tell you. And we had to figure out a way to do that, not in a crappy porta potty way, but we couldn't get permits to put bathrooms down here, so we had to figure out a cool solution, and this is our solution. The inside of these toilets a lady, Travis's lady that was here visiting, has a really cool eye, and she just went to the store and she decorated the inside of these. They're cute, and it looks nice. And there's a guy here in Boise, and I see him in most cities. These are about $2,500 as a self-contained unit, and it's a legit flushing toilet. You only have to have inbound water and outbound sewer. And then what we built behind it was a portable 350-gallon tank that collects from both bathrooms, and we can drive it to town and dump it and not have to worry about any of the aspects of permitting or any of those things, because this is deemed as a portable bathroom. So that was kind of our solution. And anybody who's building anything to say that if you can get a bathroom done, especially that needs an exterior shell, for around $2,500, you did good. And I think you would spend a lot more, to be honest. They're nice. They don't look cheap. They flush well. They function well. It's a really cool unit. And then we built this kind of deck and stuff to make it look cute, and this is how we did it. So that's how we solved our bathroom problem. The peacocks, by the way, to give you an update on them, they had babies this year, and we have people who want to buy those babies. And the peacocks have added a super beautiful element to this whole down area. During the spring, when the people are coming and looking at the wedding space, we have these big, beautiful strutting peacocks out there every day. I mean, it's really cool, and the peacocks are cool. And I've heard nightmares about them, but we haven't had the nightmare. The only nightmare I would say about the peacocks is that peacocks take a way bigger poop than you think. And they like to be on this deck and roost on kind of the roof line sometimes. And they take, I mean, seriously, a big poop. And it stinks. It doesn't stink like normal bird poop. They're like predators. They're out here catching mice and eating snakes. But that's the other thing too, is that they're like pterodactyls. I mean, honestly, the vermin and the mice and the grasshoppers and I like snakes. I don't want them off the ranch, but it's like having two like hardcore predators, or four, patrolling the grounds at all times. And you should know, we started with 2 males and 2 females. Each female nested, and out of each of them did 4 eggs. Out of 4 eggs, 1 hen hatched 1, and the other hen hatched 2. Sorry, Travis just reminded me that it's true. She hatched 3, and 1, I don't know what happened to it. I don't know if it got nabbed by a hawk, but I'm skeptical of that. Because we don't lose stuff to hawks here, but 1 died. It just disappeared. We don't know where it went. So we ended up with 2 hens, and 1 ended up with 2, and the other one ended up with 1 that we raised. And now, honestly, after having peacocks for 2 years, I would stay with 2 or maybe 3 males and 1 hen, maybe 2 hens. But now we got a possibility of 3 or 4 hens and 2 males, and that's not what I want. I don't want a bunch of peacocks running everywhere. And the other thing you should know is that during breeding season, one of our males left the ranch. And, you know, we got coyotes around the property every night. He made his way clear down to our neighbors down below. He was roosting at the other neighbors above. And I think it was because the 2 males were battling during breeding season. And he finally said, screw this, I'm out of here. I'm going to go look for some other girls. And he didn't find any. And he came back on his own. Just one day he magically was back. So that's kind of an interesting tidbit. So let me share you this ceremony space. So this is where we had our ceremonies this year. And one of the things that we had kind of going against us is that we didn't decide fully and know we were going to have weddings in the spring when we're really growing our grass. So we grazed this really heavily. And what we're going to do this year, because if we left this alone and didn't graze it, the grass would be about this tall out here. We have big, beautiful bunch grass, and we have sunflowers, and we've planted goat forage in here, so that adds some really cool stuff. And this is going to be beautiful as an ungrazed meadow. And this is an interesting part about what we're facing right now, and I think other homesteaders are facing it as well, is that we can make more money using the ground, attracting the public to enjoy this, than we can raising grass and feeding animals. And there's a problem with that. But it doesn't mean that the problem isn't real and we don't have to adapt to survive, because we are. So what we've done is we've evaluated what parts of the ranch that we're going to isolate from the animals from being able to come into, which honestly on animal movement on our ranch is going to be a pain in the butt, because we kind of got to move everybody around everything to get them into the areas they want to be. And what we're going to do is we're going to use our black locust. Now this is black locust. These black locust trees really are here because the settlers were smart enough to know a lot of these are non-native in this area, and the settlers were smart enough to know that this was the best fence post they could ever plant. So what we're going to do to save money and to build something that's repurposing and positive is we're going to build a jack fence around this pasture. So we'll build it on the lower half of this road, bring it through here, and then we'll isolate the entire wedding reception area with both our trees, creeks, and the jack fence to keep the animals out of here, to keep this pristine and natural. And what the plan is here, because the weddings sit this way, everybody wants to look at the view, which I understand, and it's beautiful, is that once this gets really tall or starts to get tall, I'm going to mow a pattern in here of where the reception area is going to be. And so what it'll end up becoming that'll be so pretty is a well manicured lower height grass where the ceremony is, but the surrounding area is going to be a big tall meadow. So it'll have the feel of getting married in a natural meadow, which I can't imagine something more beautiful. I'm so excited to play around with it next year and really get it dialed in and figure it out. Long-term wise, one of the negatives we have with this is it's not fully level. Guests have to, if the guests want to sit over here, which some brides have wanted it over here, that the guests are actually slightly sitting this way, but the guests and the brides, and they didn't seem to care about that. For me, I'm like really regimented and things need to be level. And so we may come in here and eventually put in a section of level so that they all have the right place to choose from with the best view and the best level. Because if they want the best view, they kind of got to be off level. If they want to sit right, then they need to sit with the not the best view in the background. And I don't want them to have to make that choice. But again, there's only so much money you can spend before you make it, and we're dealing with that.